Hello everybody, welcome back to One Hub Racing. This is season number 12 and this is the Pinnacle tier. This is round number 16, which takes us to the Sochi Autodrome and the Russian Grand Prix. Joining me in the commentary box tonight is not John Worth. Tonight it is Luke Etheridge. Luke, how are you doing tonight?
I'm fine, Kieran. I'm looking forward to some great racing, hopefully.
Yeah, we had a bit of trouble getting everyone into the lobby, but you know, we've got as many people as we can. I think the host had to actually manually type out the names of all the drivers that were competing tonight. So that's why we're on a little bit later. But we are here and the race will go ahead. So I'm looking forward to it, Luke.
Yeah, it should be some close action, hopefully. And may see Sam take a much bigger step to getting the title today.
Yeah, absolutely. Sam currently has a 100-point lead going into the Russian Grand Prix ahead of Donkul and Reflow. Reflow, who is not here tonight. So basically, if Samster, I believe, gets, well, if he gets 7 points, let's say 8. Let's say 8 points. If Samster gets 8 points tonight, Reflow is out of the title hunt. So that could be a real blow to Reflow if he comes back next week and finds out, well, he's out of the title race.
Yeah, maybe out of the title race, but it's definitely still a close battle for second place at the moment. Just 28 points separating Don Cole in second and Matt FNG in fifth. So although the main title battle looks to be all but over, there's definitely a lot to fight for lower down the order.
Well, the top 5 still mathematically in the title hunt. Matt FNG 128 points off. Remember, there's still 150 points to score in the season. Here comes Marley then, around at the final corner. We're going to ride on board with him for a lap of the Sochi Autodrome. So here we go then, coming across the start-finish line and now making our way towards turn 1. Make sure you know where the car is, the car width going through turn 1 on the very first lap. Hectic it can be there as we now make our way down towards turn 2, braking just before the 100-metre board, making sure the car turns in. Watch the exit there. It's very easy to lose the back end as we now fly through turn 3 here. The Renault, you can see, keeping tight to the curb and making sure that steering angle is as loose as possible as we head towards turn 4. Where Valtteri Bottas and Kimi Räikkönen got up close and personal a couple of years ago. Here we come towards turn 5. That's the end of sector 1. Make sure you hug that sleeping policeman on the inside. The sleeping policeman from now on will be your friends, as Marley's actually backed off here, but we're still going to ride on board with him for a lap as we head through turn 7 and now towards the double left-hander here of turns 8 and 9. You can take a good amount of speed through them, but watch your exit there. It's very easy to run wide as we head now towards turn 10. Again, the sleeping policeman on the inside, take advantage of it as we now head towards the second DRS zone through turn 11 and then making our way now towards turn 12. And the braking zone for turn 13 is right after turn 12, and for some drivers it's in turn 12 as we make our way now. Very easy to carry too much speed into this corner. There's a wall, an unforgiving wall right on the inside as we head towards turn 14. Now we're heading to a 90-degree section as we head towards turns 15 and 16 here. And then it's a short run down to turn 17. Watch the exit on turn 16. You can use that curb there. And, well, Marley's actually going to come back into the pits. But you have the two 90-degree corners then of 17 and 18. That is a lap of the Sochi Autodrome. And, well, Luke, a couple of drivers here as White Fountain sets a 131.9. Brumadinho there at 130.7. Odems was asking all the drivers in the pre-race interviews about track limits. That can be a nightmare here. And he was asking them, will they be advantageous for you? TK was saying, I think it can be very good in these conditions, but I haven't been able to practice, so he reckons he's going to be vulnerable. We also have Scorpion, who said, I think it will be an advantage for me. In career mode, I can keep it between the lines, more or less. So quite a couple of the drivers, look, feeling confident going into this race of not getting any penalties.
Yeah, I think it's going to be tough for a lot of them to manage the entire race without any penalties. I think it's a risk versus reward situation. Do you just push that a little bit harder, knowing that 3 slight runs off the track, pretty much guaranteed to give yourself a 3-second penalty, or do you take it a bit easier into some of the corners? Yeah, especially heading towards the middle sector of the lap, a lot of 90-degree right-handers. It's quite easy there to just run wide and get yourself a warning for track limits. But I think I'd be surprised if the majority of the field end this race without a penalty. Let's put it that way.
And some people in the chat saying, Luke, that they can't hear you. properly. Maybe just turn your mic up a couple of notches if you can. Or if that's what we're coping with, then that's what we're coping with. But as we see Lukey now flying through the last couple of corners. Remember, at this track, it's the hyper soft tyres, ultra soft, and then the soft tyres as Lukey makes his way through the final 90-degree corners. Then, as he makes his way towards the line, and it will be P6 for Lukey, 131.7 on a set of ultra soft tyres.
Yeah, I'm surprised a lot of drivers are going. Well, a few drivers have gone for the ultra softs. I'd expect most of them to go for the hyper soft tyres. Not really a track where tyre usage is a big concern, especially not when you compared it to Singapore, the previous round, where a lot of drivers were struggling with tyre temperatures.
Yeah, absolutely. And Pete, as we were on board with, saying quite clear in the chat there, I hate Russia, block capitals. What do you reckon he thinks about the Sochi Autodrome?
I think he's made it pretty clear there, hasn't he? I wonder if there's any particular element to the track he hates more than the others. The final sector in many ways is similar to Singapore, a lot of tight twisty corners. You've got the first sector which is more about speed with a long straight through turn 1, fairly quick chicane for turns 2, and then a long left-hander at turn 3, where I think we could see a lot of close action through the race as drivers prepared to overtake through into turn 4. You could see some very close action. As you mentioned a few years ago, Bottas and Raikkonen got a bit too close together into turn 4.
Yeah, what did he do? I think was the words from Bottas there. But never mind that. Let's hope we won't get any of those incidents going down towards turn 4 there. And Luke and I were sort of discussing before we went live that this track has been dominated. Well, not this track, but the Russian Grand Prix has been dominated by Mercedes even since the 1910s. They are undefeated at the Russian Grand Prix, in real life that is. But we haven't got any Mercedes tonight, Luke.
Yeah, and that's going to be a big blow for them in the constructors of third place at the moment. 222 points behind Ferrari. So if my maths doesn't fail me, I believe that means Mercedes will be out of the Constructors' Championship at the end of tonight. They will be over 215 points behind, which is the maximum that will be available from the final 5 rounds, and it's Ferrari who have a 145 point lead in that. So I'd say that's another championship that looks pretty much sewn up, although it is close further down the order. Toro Rosso, Renault and Haas, just 10 points separating them in the battle for 5th. So could be good for Scorpion and Chopper, Joe and TK, so both drivers for Toro Rosso and Haas, and both Renault drivers as well, come to mention it. So they'll definitely be glad that both drivers have turned up and gives them the maximum opportunity to score points here today.
And in the pre-race interviews, Odems was trying to get drivers to say what they thought about him, and the vanity project sort of failed for Odems. As Marley goes top there, 129.6 on the Hypersoft tyres there. Yeah, the vanity project sort of failed for Odems there, it's fair to say.
Yeah, it's not exactly gone to plan, I think, the best way of putting it.
Now, Donkel coming into the pit lane. Now, the pit lane has been controversial over the last sort of season. Races before here have experienced some issues coming into the pit lane. That could affect some of the results tonight. So I guess in the briefing, they'll have been told to be careful coming into the pit lane.
Yeah, I imagine they'll have been practicing where possible in just races online, maybe between themselves and with in different leagues or interesting ranked races, to try and see if there's certain lines causing that throughout the pit lane. I know if I had been racing tonight, I'd be trying to work out if it's one line through the pit lane, through the final 2 corners that's causing the penalties, or whether it is just a random thing and you've just got to pray to the racing gods that you get lucky tonight. Definitely motivation to make sure you're on a one-stop strategy though. Absolutely.
Here comes TK down towards the 2nd corner. Interestingly, not the 1st corner. Apparently that right-hander just before the 1st DRS zone is enough G-force pull there to be classed as a corner, because the way the FIA class corners is if it pulls a certain amount of G. I can't remember the exact figure, but if it pulls a certain amount of G going through there, then it is classed as a corner. That's how they work it out nowadays.
Does that mean if I just take a corner badly and produce more G, that I can say it's a corner when it's really not?
I mean, sure, if you take less G through a corner, it's a straight for you then, isn't it?
Yeah.
Are you covering less distance? I guess not, but you're covering less corners. Might be able to save your tyres a bit, Luke, because you'll have less corners to go through.
I think pretty much everyone will be thinking if it's flat out, it's not really a corner.
Yeah, especially the TK here.
Although Eau Rouge, I wouldn't like to say that's not a corner. Although that is flat out in modern cars.
It's flat out. It's a straight now. Oh no, we're not talking about Belgium, Luke. Come on, it's the Russian Grand Prix, Sochi Autodrome. Lots of the drivers not really liking the track. Some of them do, and one of them who does like this track is Samster. Said on Twitter before the race, he's probably one of the only people that exists to like the Russian Grand Prix, as he sets a 130.5 on some Hypersoft tyres, and that is, well, almost a second behind Marley there.
Marley must have had a rocket ship, which is what Fernando Alonso's been asking for years, to get around this track. 129.6, 8 tenths faster than at Brunedinho. Samster just a further 10th behind, but even then Samster has a fairly sizable gap back to 4th place Manjor, so some quite big gaps here in qualifying today, especially amongst the front runners.
Yeah, remember though that Chopper 147.0, that is that's not a representative lap time, of course, because he's just exploring the track and he was on some soft tyres. And well, the Hypersofts here can last a little bit. It's not like other tracks, the Hypersofts. They do last here. They're not just a qualifying tyre, but again, you're looking at about lap 8 to 10 in this race to be pitting in on those tyres. And then if you have the Ultra Softs, which at the moment none of the top 10 are starting on, then I think it's around about lap 18, if I'm not mistaken. I'll have to give that a check. Lap 16 to 18 is the pit window. So yeah, it's going to be a challenge for these drivers to keep those tyres in check, especially when we're going around here. But what sort of gets me is if everybody's on the Hypersoft tyres, is everybody preparing for the race? Could we be seeing some rain there?
Well, Peter's just gladly told us that it's going to be a dry race. So I think it is. Yeah, it's the psychic man in the McLaren telling us it's going to be dry. But I think it's pretty much just there's no real high downforce corners. Probably the long left-hander at turn 3 is the one where your tyres take the most beating. I think it's comfortable in the Hypersofts. Most drivers seem to have no problems going hypers to ultras, then ultras to hyper. I'd only expect to see the soft tyres used as a race tyre if anyone has any issues in the first lap and they have to pit early on. Then obviously you go for the softs and try and make them last till the end.
Yeah, because obviously we don't have the super soft tyres with us today. We go from Hypersofts to Ultrasofts and then straight up to the soft tyres. So they really are the hardest tyre maybe Pirelli could have brought to this track. You never know, they could have brought the super hards and thought why not, but then they wouldn't ever get used.
Yeah, tyres should be a bit simpler for the fans to follow in 2019. Pirelli just naming all the tyres at each track, soft, medium and hard, but the compounds are all going to be numbered from 1 to 5, and that is what will be announced by Pirelli prior to the race weekend. But all the fans will see at the track is the soft, medium and hard tyre compounds. Do you think that's going to be a better way of naming the tyres, or could it just lead to some casual fans thinking, well, if the softs were good at this track, how come the softs are going to be bad at a different circuit, for example? Yeah,
that's the problem that could come up. Obviously, calling the tyres different names sort of eliminates that problem. But I think it's going to be easier for the fans to follow in general. They know the softs will wear the quickest, the mediums, the middle tyre and the hards will last the longest. So I think in that respect, it's going to be a lot easier to follow. But you know, for the stat man like me and who wants to know what the tyres are, how long they're going to last, I'm going to miss this Pirelli Rainbow, as it's called. Knowing that the Hypersofts will only last about 3 laps around Monaco, if that, which is a complete lie. They can last a lot longer than that, but that's because there's less distance to cover at Monaco.
And a lot less speed, because by far the slowest circuit on the track and shortest race. It's the only track where I think they realised if they went for the full 310 kilometres, you'd never get finished in under 2 hours.
Yeah, that's right. I think it's 260 kilometres they actually cover in that race, but someone's going to have to fact check that one. But yeah, it's the only race in the calendar that doesn't exceed the 300 kilometre threshold. There's another one that does, Singapore, and we run nearly 2 hours in the full race. In fact, when we go league racing there, I believe the One Hub race there lasted 56 minutes. So hopefully the Russian Grand Prix will be a little bit less than that.
Yeah, a lot more faster sections, especially with 2 DRS zones. I'd expect to see most of the overtaking going around there, although that turn 12 can be quite tricky, trying to turn and brake at the same time. I'd expect to see quite a few lockups going into there during the race.
And TK puts himself up to P9 now. It's a 131.5. Lawrence is out there on a flying lap right now. He's just coming through turns 8 and... no, he's coming through turn 10 as I lose myself out on track. We've got Matt F&G in the Ferrari then, who is looking to try and capitalise on recent good form. And he comes across the line to start a flying lap. We've got Jor out there coming to the end of his out lap. Samster's also on that same bit of track, getting well out of the way for Jor then. But Jor decides not to follow. What's going on here, guys? It seems like they're going in formation then. Neither of them want to be the lead car.
Yeah, I think they're all trying to get as clear a track as possible. Maybe just get a sneaky bit of slipstream down the straight. I can see Brumadinho and Joe getting very close to each other now. Coming up, getting ready to start their final qualifying laps.
And there is a pressure on Donkel. He hasn't set a lap time yet, and he knows that if he doesn't win this race, or if he doesn't score any points, that is, and Samstar wins the race, then that could be championship over. Now, we'd have to do the count back. So that's why we're not going to say whether there would be a champion here or not. But if Donkel doesn't score well here, it could set up a championship decider next time around.
Yeah, next time around in Japan. Next week, see many a championship decided at that track. Donkel getting a bit slidey.
Well, he knows.
Turns 5.
Oh, losing the back end then. Going through turn 7 there as he heads towards 8 and 9. He's really pushing this car, giving this McLaren a run for its money as we now head through turn 10. As TK comes into the pits, Matt F&G has finished up as he's taken the checkered flag, so we'll have to keep an eye on out there of lap times as Samson makes his way now through turn 14 and coming up towards 15 and 16. Brumadinho's coming down towards turn 12 and 13. Marley going through 8 and 9, so it kind of looks like Samson's going to be the first one to cross the finish line. I can hear a car ahead. I'm not entirely sure though. Here comes Samson though, coming through the final corners now. And what can Samson do as he heads towards the line? He improves, but it is invalidated. So he is starting from 3rd place at the moment. Donkel goes up to P3 and knocks Samster off that 3rd place. So good lap time from Donkel then. And it's 130.510, 2 hundredths of a second, just over. That's all that was in it. Scorpion on a flying lap. Lukey making his way now through turn 14. Just have to see how he goes. Joe making his way through the final couple of corners. Pete's right in front of him. Doesn't look like anyone's ahead of him. Matt F&G up to P5 then. So it's Ferrari in 4th and 5th at the moment. Here comes Pete around the final corner. Says he hates this track. Comes around the final corner. P5 for Pete then. Knocking Matt down to P6. Here comes Lukey across the line. Improves by 2 thousandths of a second. It's not enough to improve though. Chopper up to P6. Good lap time from him. And here comes Scorpion around the final corner to take the checkered flag. It is P10 for him. So that is qualifying complete then. And Marley is on pole position for the Russian Grand Prix.
An absolute mile ahead, 8 tenths ahead of Brumadinho. Interesting, as I was just watching Marley come across the finish line for his final lap, he'd managed to go even faster, but it was invalidated. So I think that'll be a relief for some of the other drivers that wasn't a valid lap. Otherwise, it could have been a long, long race. They'll be hoping that with such a big gap, he's going to be using a lot more of his tyres than the rest of them.
But as it stands then, Marley is on pole position, and I wonder if this is him just trying to make a point for next season. Obviously, there's no chance of him winning the championship. He did join mid-season, and maybe he's just trying to prove a point, trying to get his name out there. And as you can see, almost 8/10 between himself and Brumadinho. Then Donkel in third with Samster in fourth. Pete is in fifth with Chopper there up to sixth place on the ultra soft tyres. Watch out for him then, he's going for the alternate strategy. Matt FNG in seventh, Lukey in eighth, Lawrence in ninth with Scorpion rounding out the top 10. Jaw in 11th, White Fountain in 12th, and TK is in 13th place. All the drivers then separated by just under 2 seconds, so not a bad result for the entire field to be separated by 2 seconds.
No, I think the alternate strategy, you could see Jaw, Fountain and T-Craj in the last place going for that as well on the ultra softs, trying to just last a bit longer at the start. So them and Chopper could definitely be ones to keep an eye on during the race.
Absolutely. As we await now, those clouds in the sky don't look too convincing, but as Peter's already told us in the chat, it looks like it's going to be a dry race. If there is any rain, that means then the strategists are expecting to make it to the end of the race on dry tyres. That's what that means. We'll have to wait and see how that all goes.
Yeah, if I was walking outside in this weather, I'd definitely think about taking a coat with me. It doesn't look too sunshiny on the Black Sea summer resort, of course, in Russia. We think of Russia being quite a cold country, but it's a popular holiday destination, Sochi, and the home of the 2014 Winter Olympics, of course, where the track is built around.
Yeah, and it was very cold during the Olympics, if I remember rightly. During those Winter Olympics, anyway. So yeah, we've got, obviously, the top 10 starting on the tyres they qualified on. Chopper there on the ultra softs. Interesting to watch out for him. Remember, the pit window for him opens on lap 16, whereas for the Hypersoft runners, it'll open on lap 7. So those starting outside the top 10, well, Jaw starting on a new set of Hypersoft tyres, White Fountain starting on a set of new Ultra Softs, and TK starting brand new Hypersoft tyres for the race. The rest of the top 10 have to start on those used tyres. Chopper P6 on those Ultra Softs, Luke. I know I've said it before, but we have to watch out for him. It looks like the alternate strategy could work here if he puts his mind to it.
Yeah, I think a lot could determine can he hold off those runners behind him and try and stay in touch with those in front of him in the first few laps. He's got to be patient. They're going to have a lot more pace at the start than him. He's just going to wait for the race to come to him when they go for their pit stops. He should have at least another 10 laps on his tyres. And it's just how well can he defend as well from them if some of the runners start catching him up as well after their pit stops. You can see him all warming up their tyres now, getting ready for the 27 lap race around this Sochi Autodrome. Outside of Spa, the second longest circuit on the Formula 1 calendar at the moment.
Yeah, 27 laps, 5.848 kilometres this circuit, and a race distance of around about 159 kilometres. Just under 159 kilometres. Lap record set by Valtteri Bottas. That's the race for a lap record, of course. 135.8 in the most recent 2018 Grand Prix. First Grand Prix at this circuit was back in 2014, and as Luke and I said earlier, it's a track that's been dominated by Mercedes. In every Russian Grand Prix that has been held, a Mercedes has won the race. Looks like it's going to be different here with no Mercedes racing tonight. Let's see who will be taking that top spot on the podium. Can Samster increase that lead over Donkel? Donkel has done half a job here of out-qualifying Samster. Samster, who was confident going into this race, starting from P4. But watch out for those cars as they head towards turn 1. It can be a very, very tricky corner to get absolutely right. And with all 13 cars going through turn 1, watch out for anyone who tries to go 2 or 3 wide as we head towards the Russian Grand Prix. It's 5 red lights. Round 16 is underway, and what are the starts like? Looks like Marley's got a good start, but Brumadinho has got an even better one. He's side by side with him as they head through turn 1 now. Watch out for the cars behind, as we look like we're going to try and make it 3 wide now as we head towards turn 2. Donkel right on the inside. That's Lukey in the background, cutting off the Toro Rosso, and there's contact in the back. Toro Rosso, I believe that was Scorpion there, getting hit there. As he turned the car around, and he's having to recover now. Pete going very slowly through turn 3 now, as Marley still leading, but we've got the move here. Is that Donkel? No, he tried up the inside of the Force India and didn't quite happen. We've got TK there, who's fallen all the way back. Lukey's got a 5-second stop but go for corner cutting. Yellow flags in Sector 1. That is TK, who was in the wall and lost his entire front wing on the entry into Turn 4. Must have been a little bit of contact behind there. We did see a little bit of carnage behind. And Samster has a 5-second stop go. Donkel's lost front wing damage. Donkel front wing damage there, and Samster's going to take that position. And Donkel is going to find himself falling down the order. What happened to the McLaren? It looked like the front wing just fell apart then, as we now head through turn 11, now towards turn 12 here. And Donkel is going to struggle through this high-speed section. Will he just get out of the way, or is he going to try and fight all the way to the pit lane then? That looks like it's going to be soft tyres on for Donkel as we head through turn 13. You can see now White Fountain gets the move done. Up ahead then, Chopper gets the move done on Jaw, with Matt FNG looking and trying to find a way past. White Fountain then is trying now to defend and attack the car behind and ahead, and Donkel of course will be coming into the pits now. He might go for a 2-stop here. He might put on the soft tyres and try and go to the end of the race. We'll see what he decides to do, but at the end of lap 1, Marley leads from Brumadinho, Samster, Chopper, Jaw, Matt FNG, White Fountain, Lukey, Pete, Lawrence, Donkel in the pits, Scorpion and TK, who's also got to stop to replace that front wing.
Yeah, it looked like Scorpion got together a bit with Lukey heading into turn 1, and TK Rag sort of just got caught up as everyone was coming back onto track. But I didn't quite see what happened with Samster. I can only assume the penalty was for passing Donkel illegally. Maybe that led to the front wing damage as well. It's ultra soft tyres now on Donkel's cars. You've got to imagine that is a 2-stop strategy. He is just going to take advantage of the clean air he's got, drive as fast as he possibly can. It's going to be 26 qualifying laps, I think, if Donkel wants to keep his championship hopes, his realistic championship hopes, alive anyway.
Now remember, if he does score points here, he does take the championship battle to Japan, but the important question is how many points can he score here. We've got White Fountain, by the way, putting Matt FNG under a little pressure. This is the battle for P6 now as we head through turn 12, now into the braking zone of turn 13. Always a tricky one to get absolutely right. Remember there we saw Carlos Sainz lose the back end completely, hit the wall hard on the entry into turn 13, so it's not a very forgiving corner as the Alfa Romeo Sauber then, as we can call it in this game, because it is Matt FNG coming into the pits there on lap number 2. So a very early call then from the Ferrari as Samster looks to try and get into the slipstream of Brumadinho. Of course, DRS is now enabled, so Brumadinho is going to have to do a bit of defending here as we head down towards turn 2. Brumadinho does well, then of course he makes the move to the right hand side, but then makes a move back onto the racing line, which is completely legal as Lukey then, is he going to find a way past White Fountain then, going up the inside in towards turn 2. Great move from Lukey, he's up to P6 now on those hyper soft tyres, Pete, keeping them on their toes. It's Matt FNG and Lawrence are both into the pits. They've both put on a set of soft tyres, so assuming now that can get them to the end of the race. Tayn, not sure how you pronounce your name, so I'm just going to spell it out, is full support for Lukey tonight, who's currently in P6. That means Donkel is now up to P10 with Matt and Lawrence pitting in. And, well, Samster still putting on the pressure on Brumadinho here. The Ferrari eager to get past and eager to try and extend his lead over Donkel, who is currently in 10th place. And, well, Lukey has got 2 cars behind him here in White Fountain and Pete.
Yeah, he's going to find it tough to defend now. DRS enabled, of course. White Fountain's going to be looking to attack and defend at the same time. Seems to have got a better exit than Pete, at least, although the McLaren is closing quite rapidly, but not rapidly enough. Samster's going to have to be careful. He's already got himself a 5-second stop go and a 3-second penalty for multiple warnings, so that could play into Donkel's hands as the race goes along. And we said keeping it clean could have a big factor on how the race result today at the moment. Although Marley will be happy out in front, 2 seconds. He's broke the DRS zone, of course, so he'll just be hoping to comfortably streak ahead now for the rest of the race.
Well, here comes Chopper then, trying to defend against Jaw as we head down towards turn 2. And Jaw has the inside line and parks it on the apex. Good move from Jaw then. He's now up to P4. Samster here might have the dirty air of Brumadinho as we head down towards turn 4 here. Lawrence, 3-second time penalty for him for multiple warnings, and Scorpion picks up exactly the same penalty. Chopper here trying to put some pressure back onto the Haas, see if he can try and lure him into a mistake. And Lukey here holding on to P6. Remember, White Fountain is on some ultra soft tyres, so watch out for him during the race. Chopper as well on those. And I don't remember. Oh yes, White Fountain did start on some Ultrasofts. That's right, because he started outside the top 10. So he's on brand new Ultrasoft tyres. So theoretically, he could go a lot further into this race than Chopper can. And Lukey, coming under the exit of turn 9, going very, very wide there to the left-hand side, almost to try and prioritise the entry into turn 10. And it seems to work, because he's still got that lead. And even with DRS, White Fountain just can't seem to catch Lukey as quickly as he'd like.
Yeah, I think White Fountain's just got to be patient. Maybe some of these lines from Lukey are him just trying to conserve the tyres a bit more. He knows it could only be another, only be another 4 or 5 laps before he has to come into the pits. And speaking of that, his teammates just dived in. The race leader has pitted, so Marley's had enough of those hyper soft tyres a lot earlier than we were expecting, Kieran.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll come back to that in just a second, because Samster here is going to try and make a move on Brumadinho. He's on the outside of turn 2 here, but can't quite make the move stick. He did get front wing damage, but he's now going to try up the inside of turn 3 now. With that bit of front wing damage, is there a risk of understeer going through now towards turn 4? Brumadinho has the inside line for turn 4 here, but he spun him around. They both collide there, and Brumadinho lights up those rear tyres then. And, there's a Toro Rosso gone straight on there. And Brumadinho, who tried to rejoin, very lucky not to collect jaw there as well. Chopper just went straight on there, and Chopper's actually left the session. So that might count as a disconnection there. But look at this now. Lukey out to P3 now. And I'm not sure. Samster there could have given Brumadinho a little bit more room there.
It looked pretty optimistic, I have to say, from what I saw from Brumadinho. I'd have to maybe have another look at it, but I think Samster was quite a long way ahead, and just a slight bit of contact on that front right tyre, and we saw Sebastian Vettel, pretty much the expert of performing that particular manoeuvre this season. I think Brumadinho just got caught out of it there by Samster, which was a shame, because he was doing quite well defending into turn 1. He definitely looked to have the straight line speed to hold Samster off, and I think Sam just got wise to that and prioritised getting a good run through turn 3, and he's now got himself a 7-second lead at the moment, but Marley has pitted, of course.
Yeah, Lukey is into the pits then. He has got himself a 5-second stop go for ignoring yellow flags, and I'm assuming that was during Scorpion's excursion off the track. He did run wide there. I just wonder if he just went straight on or missed his braking point, whatever, battling away. But it has cost him a position in this race, and in fact he's left the session entirely, so he won't be classified, because obviously we haven't completed 75% of the race. Lap 6 then, Samster leads from Jaw and White Fountain. It's Brumadinho in 4th, with Marley in 5th, having already stopped. Pete then is now up to 6th place. Donkel in 7th, Matt FNG in 8th. Lukey emerging from the pits then. He's going to emerge in 9th place. Scorpion comes through in 10th place. Chopper, as a ghost car, pits in. He's in 11th place right now. TK will pass him in the pit lane. He's going to inherit that 11th place. And Lawrence then, who is coming around the final couple of corners, currently P13. That should turn to P12 in a matter of laps. Jaw then is under pressure from White Fountain here as we head towards the DRS zone. You can see then the Alfa Romeo Sauber pulling over to the right-hand side on the track and making his way through turn 12. He's got the move done then. Does the Haas try and move down the inside? No, he doesn't. Through turn 13 then, White Fountain has the move done. And on those ultra-soft tyres, he's making this alternate strategy work.
Yeah, I think we've definitely reached a point where the ultra-softs, they've lasted longer. The initial pace of the hyper-soft has burnt off. Although saying that, it just seems to be Jaw who was struggling. He lost about 2.5 seconds already on this lap to Samster. So it'll be interesting to see what White Fountain can do. Can he catch up to Sam, or has the Ferrari just got the ultimate pace at the moment? As Brumadinho pits now from 4th position after his unfortunate incident earlier.
Yeah, absolutely. Pitting in now from 4th place. Obviously, he was running in 2nd. That means Marley now moves up to P4. And on those soft tyres as well. It's not a strategy you and I were thinking about, Luke. But if he can make those soft tyres last, then he's got a good shout here. Because obviously, with those soft tyres wearing away, they won't wear away as quickly as the hypers. Nowhere near the hypers and nowhere near the ultras either. So the performance loss overall is not so much, but the performance of the tyre isn't close to those hypersofts. If that makes any sense, write us a postcard.
Yeah, I think I'd have to say he's gone for a more pacey strategy, a more pacey setup as well, of course, at the cost of tyre life. And we saw him with a huge 8 tenths advantage in qualifying, so maybe through testing he's just thought it wasn't possible to get those hypers to last. And then obviously trying to get the ultras to last in your second stint as well, just going for the more safer option on the soft tyres. You don't want to be getting a puncture at the end of the race, that would just be cruel. And he is gaining on the cars in front, so he is looking good at the moment.
Brumadinho putting some pressure on Matt F&G. Matt is on soft tyres, Brumadinho on ultra softs. There's 2 steps between these tyres then as he makes his way through towards turn 12 with the DRS wide open, and then down towards turn 13. Brumadinho then up to 7th place. That was an important move to make. He has to make sure these tyres go to good use. 3.5 seconds between himself and the car ahead, and now he can make full use of these tyres now.
Yeah, don't call the car ahead, of course. It's going to be interesting to see if I was him, I'd be trying to message Pete on every single way possible, saying just move out the way. I'm on a different strategy to you. I need to have as clear air as possible. I can't see Don Cole going for a one-stop on those ultra soft tyres. It'd be an absolute miracle, I think, to get them to last till the end. So I'll have to see what he can do. White Fountain's pretty much keeping the gap at around 8 seconds to Samster, although he has pulled up quite significantly from Geordie.
And Lawrence is out.
As we see a yellow flag.
Yeah, Lawrence is out then, somewhere in sector 3. We haven't got a good camera angle as of yet. We'll see if he pops up here. We're riding on board with Samster. Can we see any yellow flags? Yes, we do see some yellow flags. And it's, oh, he's gone straight on at turn, I believe that's turn 15 there. Well, that's an odd place to lose it.
Yeah, quite a weird one. I can only imagine he's just put a wheel on the AstroTurf. Very slippery, of course, and maybe just locked up and gone straight on. The Samster pits at the end of lap 8, and he will have a 5-second stop-go penalty. So it'll be interesting to see where he comes out in relation to Pete, Donkall and Brumadinho. I'd imagine he'd be somewhere round about that battle.
Well, I'm sure Carl will be jumping for joy now because he's all for White Fountain in this race, and currently he's in the lead of the race right now, but he has yet to make a stop. He's the only driver now, with Jaw coming into the pits, that has to make a stop in this race. Donkall then is closing on Pete, but Brumadinho is closing on Donkall much quicker here as he's actually set the fastest lap of the race, 1:34.2, as Lawrence leaves the session then having retired from this race. We then have 11 runners left in this Grand Prix, so it's a good chance for points. There in the background is Samster, and I wonder here if Matt's just going to hold off, and he does. Samster there is under-fueled for the race, so he's got to do some fuel saving at some point in this race, indicated by that yellow fuel light you can see there. So he's under fuel, which means that the car is a lot lighter than others out there, but that means he has to do some fuel saving at some point in the race. Then Lukey is right behind Jaw. They're both on the same tyre, but Jaw's only just emerged from the pit lane. And one thing about these hard tyres, as you like to call them, well, they're actually the softs. If you go for the third sets of tyres, which prove to be the hardest, they might take a couple of laps to warm up here. Jaw just has to defend from Lukey for just a couple of corners and get some heat into those tyres as we head through turns 8 and 9. Was that a little bit of a tap from Lukey from behind? Not too sure. We're just going to jump on board between Donkall and Brumadinho, because Brumadinho right into the slipstream of Donkall moves to the inside going through turn 12 as we head towards turn 13. Donkall's still going to have the inside line then. Very close there. Brumadinho going off the track on the exit of turn 13 and through turn 14. Brumadinho holds it round the inside and makes the move stick. Meanwhile, off screen, Lukey manages to get past Jaw then with the help of DRS and Scorpion now right behind the Haas, but the Haas runs wide on the exit of turn 14, and I think it was very lucky there to avoid any sort of attack from Scorpion there. Scorpion on the Hypersoft tyres, he's still yet to make a stop. Of course, he stopped early on in this race and put on a set of Hypersoft tyres, so he's still got to stop for a new set of Ultrasoft. So maybe some of these setups here are not very good on the tyres. Meanwhile, Donkall trying to attack Brumadinho now as they head down towards turn 2. Donkall's not done with this battle just yet then, and Brumadinho sticking it round the outside of turn 2. Great defensive display from the Force India as they now head through turn 3 now. Brumadinho doing his absolute best, and he'll have flashbacks here going through turn 4, but this time Donkall stays behind and Brumadinho holds his position then at P4, but Donkall's going to be on him quite severely, but Brumadinho is catching Pete, the car ahead of him.
Yeah, I'm wondering if Samster's under fueling. Of course, that means it's a lot lighter, a lot less load going through the tyres, and he was able to make those hypersofts last a lot better than some of his rivals at the in the first stint. So I wouldn't write him off just yet for a win. He may be a long way behind Marley, but he should have a lot fresher tyres, and he is on the faster rubber, of course, 2 steps softer, the ultra soft Summer soft tyres, so he should be looking good at the end of this race. But a lot will depend on how quickly he can make his way through this 3-way battle ahead for the final podium slot between Pete, Brumadinho and Doncool.
Well, Pete is holding on as much as he can, and he goes to defend the inside line of turn 17. Of course, that's a move to the right-hand side, then a move back to the racing line. Now, under the regulations, that is illegal. That is perfectly legal to do. You make one move, and then you can take the racing line. Perfectly legal from Pete then. As we make our way through turn 1, DRS zone activates just after this point, then riding on board with Brumadinho. He chooses the outside line. He sort of has to go to the outside line there, as Pete defends the inside line. Going through turn 2, Brumadinho put a lot of faith in Pete there, turning in the car, but he's made the move stick, and he's now up to P3, and he has to do a bit of ERS management as he heads through turn 3 now. Pete's lost the back end, and does he come across the track? He does! Collects Brumadinho for the second time. Brumadinho's collected
Doncool as well.
Doncool as well, so Pete losing that back end so much there. He's actually got a 5-second stop go, and all the cars go through. Luckily, the Force India Ghost then, and Doncool and Brumadinho caught up with Pete spinning out there. I think it was quite harsh to give him a penalty there, but they're still battling here, and the Force India's round again. This time he keeps it all together there, and a bit of a hectic turn 4. Brumadinho and turn 4 have just not been a good mix today. It's not the Valentine's Day he wanted at all, but Doncool's actually going to let him back through. I think he's got front wing damage as well. Scorpion's out of the race now. It's all going off. He's lost it going round turn 8. It's absolute carnage right now. What's going on?
All I can imagine happened there is we saw Brumadinho quite low on his electrical energy, and maybe just the lack of pace from not having any of that just caught Pete out, and he just tried to avoid him, lost the car, and just came straight across the track, and somehow managed to collect both Brumadinho and his teammate Doncool at the same time. Everything just seems to be going right for Sam at the moment. Somehow he's avoided getting involved in that incident. He avoided much damage from the contact with Brumadinho earlier, and he's looking pretty good at the moment in 3rd position. White Fountain still hanging on though, about 2 seconds for gap back to Marley, and he's yet to pit on those ultra soft tyres as Doncool has to pit with damage. I imagine this will be his final pit stop of the race.
Well, Lukey, down the main straight then through turn 1, then coming into turn 2, made the move on Pete here. Now this is where Pete lost the back end last time out. He's able to keep control of the car, looks down the inside of Lukey, but no dice there. That's not a move that's going to happen this time around. Such a hectic couple of laps we've had here, and Pete tries to move up towards turn 5 there, not happening that time. And Matt there in the chat saying, I bet Sam can't believe his luck. He's running in P3, 18.2 behind Marley, but of course he's on an alternate strategy, could be on a 2-stop. Doncool, for the second time this race, is into the pits. He puts on a set of soft tyres then. We have technically 10 runners in this race because Chopper is a ghost car. So he's just running around. He won't be classified at the end of the race. But, well, we've got a 3-car battle here for 5th place involving Lukey, Pete and Jaw. And as we say, Pete has that 5-second stop go for causing the collision. The game deemed him at fault. But it looked to me like Pete just lost the back end, and then there was nothing he could do as a passenger from that point.
Yeah, I think it's a bit harsh to give him a penalty for that. Not really able to do much after he lost control of the car. But as I said, I think he just got caught out by Brumadinho's lack of speed off of turn 3 after what was a fantastic move by the Force India driver. A lot of trust placed in these drivers to hold it on around the outside through turn 2. It was a fantastic manoeuvre. It's just a shame it had to end that way.
Well, White Fountain under pressure now from Marley, and White Fountain is going for that strategy. His window doesn't open till lap 16, so he's got about 3.5 laps left on those tyres, but then he can put on a set of hypersofts and try and attack at the end. I wonder if he's going to put up too much of a battle with Marley. It doesn't look like it. No, he doesn't. He actually backs off then and lets Marley through without a battle, so Marley takes the lead, and I think that was a smart move from White Fountain, not battling, not taking anything out of the tyres. They're both on completely different strategies.
Yeah, he's a different race to Marley. There's no point compromising your own strategy. A lot of Formula 1 now, you've just got to be careful keeping in your own strategy. As I thought White Fountain was going to dive to the pits then a bit earlier than we expected, but as I was saying, it's all about just keeping your own head, having your own plans for the race. You can't get distracted by those around you. I know a lot in league racing, I'm usually find myself towards the back of the grid, if I'm being honest, and I have to you try and come up with some different strategies to get my way forward. And if the car in front of, behind you, should I say, if they're faster in pace anyway and they're on a faster set of tyres, you're not going to gain anything by holding them up. Might as well just follow them round and see if you can learn anything from them as well, to be honest.
Yeah, and benefit from a little bit of DRS then. Lap 14, we're at the halfway mark of this Russian Grand Prix. If the first half is anything to go by, then I'm looking forward to the second half already, as Lukey here is holding this 3-car battle then for P5 between himself, Pete and Jaw. Jaw's a little bit further back than he was before. Brumadinho, meanwhile, of course, didn't pit after that. Looks like he doesn't have any damage, but those tyres would have been, well, they've been through one heat cycle, then another, then another. And I don't think those rear tyres could take much more than what he's just put them through.
Yeah, especially now they're going to be getting very worn, and it's just a vicious circle. Once you start overheating the tyres, of course, they lose grip, you start sliding more, that just generates more heat. You've just got to try and take it a lot easier around some of these corners. You're going to lose a lot of pace. But I do feel a bit sorry for Pirelli. I think they get a bit of a hard press in Formula 1. They've been given a task to try and create tyres that degrade more, but the teams just seem to counteract this by not pushing as hard to try and turn every single race into a one-stop strategy, and that generally leads to some less interesting races, shall we say.
Well, we've definitely not seen a not interesting race. Double negatives always get the better of me. We've definitely seen an interesting race tonight, that is for sure, as Pete's still on the back of Lukey then as we head through turn 16 and now coming towards 17 and 18. Remember, White Fountain still out on track, hasn't pitted just yet on those tyres, and really this is the strategy we thought people would be going for, is this ultra soft strategy, pitting in on lap 16 then, so he's not got long now, about a lap and a half to go before he can come in and his pit window will be open. He'll then be able to throw on a set of ultra hyper soft tyres, I should say, they're hyper softs, and get to the end of the race on those, so he should be pretty quick come the end of the race. If he can manage the gap between himself and Marley in front and Samster behind, he's got a good chance of finishing really well.
Yeah, he should be coming out, I'd hazard a guess, round about where Jove is, but of course he's going to have a lot more pace on them Hypersofts. I'd expect to see him to set the fastest lap, if I'm being honest, and it's just a shame for Chopper to crash out when he did. I think he got caught out by the Brunadinho and Samster incident, because he was on this ultra soft strategy as well, so he could have been right up there for a chance at the win today.
Absolutely. As it stands though, lap 15, Marley still leads, and he was just about to start the 16th lap of this race, and there he goes. The start finish line comes at you very, very quickly after the last corner then. So for White Fountain, the pit window has opened. Lap 16, we're expecting him in any point now to change off of those ultra soft tyres, and if he can do, he's managed those tyres really well. He can try and push them to lap 18 if he really wants to. That is when his pit window closes, but I think he'll want to get rid of those tyres as quickly as possible and sort of bank in on the gap he's got behind and in front and start eating away at that gap towards the end of the race.
Yeah, if he doesn't pit soon, he could start becoming in danger of falling behind Brumadinho, and that's just one more car to pass. Although he'll be thinking, do I want to pit now? I have to try and manage the Hypersofts more towards the end. We've only seen Samster and someone else, I believe, manage 8 laps on them earlier on. So managing 11 laps could be quite a task, although they are a lot lighter now, of course, so a lot less force is being put through the tyres. Yeah,
it appears I've created a new tyre in the chat. They're an ultra hyper tyre, which is the one. It's one step down. It's the one Pirelli said not to announce yet, but they are fast and they only last 2 laps. Oh, Donkel's out. Donkel's out of the race. What happened there?
Hopefully we'll get a shot from a car that was behind or nearby. Not quite sure what's happened. Didn't see
well, we got yellow flags around the final corner. And where is Donkel then? Donkel, I believe, has virtual safety car deployed then. Donkel, I believe, has retired in the pits. So a virtual safety car and White Fountain, so unlucky. He's just gone past the pit lane there. That could have been a great chance to put in and get those hyper soft tyres. Not the hyper ultras yet. There is Donkel's McLaren coming out of the pit lane. That is why we're under a virtual safety car. And, well, watch out for that top left-hand corner. It will say virtual safety car, then it will say sector 1, 2 and 3, then it does this, DRS enabled straight away. So virtual safety car lasted around 20 seconds, it seemed like, just to make sure that Donkel stopped in a safe place. We're now back under green flag racing here. DRS is enabled straight away, and that allows Pete to actually get back into the DRS zone of Lukey, who before he was not that far behind. He was outside of the DRS zone though. And with Donkel retiring, it means he's going to score 0 points. So Samster at the moment is extending that championship lead to 115 points with 125 points left to score at the Japanese Grand Prix.
Yeah, I think talking about the ultra hyper soft tyres, I definitely think one of the tyres should have been called the super duper softs. But I think there was a missed opportunity from Pirelli. But yeah, so unlucky for White Fountain. If that virtual safety car had come out just a couple of seconds earlier, they'd been able to dive into the pit lane and probably come out just behind Samster on a lot fresher tyres, of course. But that's allowed him perhaps just to eke an extra lap out of them. So he should still be looking good towards the end of the race. He's about 27 seconds ahead of Lukey, so I'd expect him to come round about near there. As Brumadinho's managed to get past Joe in the DRS zone, that's to force India up to 7th place at the moment. With only 9 runners left in the race now.
Yeah, 10 laps to go, and what a race it could have been for Brumadinho. He's been around twice, and with that battle of Donkel also tapped on the rear tyre as well. He must be pretty frustrated, but he's running in 7th right now. The race isn't over just yet, and he's on some ultra soft tyres that look like it's pushing it, but they will be able to do 20 laps, maybe. I mean, you know, White Fountain is on them right now. They've done 17 laps so far, so, well, who knows?
The White Fountain's beginning to look a bit like he's driving on an ice rink, though, around some of these corners. I think those rears have definitely seen their best days now. 6 seconds he's dropped back to Marley's, only 9 seconds ahead of Samster. There's TK Pitts in the Haas for his second stop. He's going on to the Hypersoft tyre, so expect him to have some fun in the end of the race. He's going to be in 9th and last place, where he was before the pit stop, of course, but he's just going to enjoy himself now for the final 10 laps. Going back to Brumadinho, I think that's the advantage when you're not in a title challenge at the end of the season. You can just sort of relax a bit more and maybe go for some more risky overtakes that you wouldn't think if you had a championship looming.
Yeah, absolutely, but I still feel he'll be very frustrated. He's closing in on Pete, though, by some distance. Of course, that's the difference between the ultra soft and the soft tyres. Even if they're 11 laps old here, these ultra softs, they're still providing a good amount of grip for Brumadinho. We have still not seen White Fountain into the pits, and technically his pit window has now closed on lap 19, so he's taken those tyres much further than maybe he needs to. But at some point it's going to cost him more time. We were talking about White Fountain a couple of laps ago. The gap between himself and Samster was 12 seconds, and in the space of 3 or 4 laps it's now down to 7.5. So he's got to make a decision. Does he pit in now and put on those sets of Hypersoft tyres? Well, that seems to be the only option. The later he leaves it, the more time he's going to lose, and the less time he's going to have on those Hypersoft tyres, which means the less chance he has of closing down any gap in front of him.
Yeah, well, the light should definitely not struggle making the Hypersofts last now. They'll only have to do 8 laps on them. That should be nice and fresh at the end of the race. Pete's tyres definitely aren't looking as fresh. I've seen him lock up quite a few times, especially when he was in the DRS zone at the end of the second one, and that has allowed Brumadinho to get within that all-important 1 second now. So this could get very feisty for the battle for 4th place, of course, just 3 seconds separating Matt and Brumadinho for 4th and 7th. And Joe's only 3 seconds back as well, so maybe he can get involved in the action as well. Matt's tyres have done 16 laps. They're going to be getting a bit old and worn out towards the end of this race.
Could be a 4-car battle for 4th place. If Lukey and Matt start battling, it might draw in Pete and Brumadinho behind. But, well, Brumadinho will not be wasting his time here. We have 8 laps to go. And does White Fountain finally come into the pits? No, he's still out there on a set of ultra soft tyres. Maybe the team have decided to go for the no stop here as Brumadinho gets his way past Pete. And that looks like Pete coming into the pit lane, actually. So he's coming in. He's had enough of those soft tyres. He's going to go on a set of, I guess, hypersofts to the end of the race. I don't know what the thinking is behind White Fountain. He should have pitted in a couple of laps ago.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely going to be behind Brumadinho now, possibly behind Joe. But I don't get, to be honest, why Pete's just pitted as well. He's having to serve a stop-go penalty as well. But he was only really in danger of losing a place to Joe, and he's still going to be 19 seconds behind him with 8 laps to go, even with the ultra hypersoft tyres. That is going to be a big ask. I'm not quite sure why Pete pitted. We didn't see if he had any damage, of course. I said I've seen him lock up a few times, so maybe he just felt it was getting a bit undrivable, the car, and he'd be safer for his own race just pitting to try and make sure he didn't have any incidents.
Oh, White Fountain then. All eyes on him at the moment, because does he come into the pits this time around? Surely he's got to drift over to the right hand side. Does he think about it? Yes, he does. And finally, after 19 laps on those tyres, let's say 20 laps on those tyres, White Fountain has finally come into the pits. Now, where will this put him? It's definitely going to put him ahead of Pete. But where will he rejoin? Matt FNG is actually coming around these final couple of corners. And coming through this right-hand section. Now, of course, White Fountain hasn't made it to his box yet. There he goes. There go up the pink hyper soft tyres. On they go. Matt FNG making his way now around the final corner. And we'll have to wait and see where White Fountain goes now. Of course, rejoining the track isn't that simple. You're rejoining when the cars are still doing 200 and 300 kilometres an hour. There is White Fountain there. He's coming out in 4th place. He might just behind... Rejoin just behind Lukey there. Lukey trying to go up the move for the inside in towards turn 2. There's contact between him and the Ferrari, and Brumadinho has joined right in the thick of this battle. He's dispatched of Lukey there, and he's now got Matt FNG ahead of him, and that might be P3. And what could have been for Brumadinho right now, he's on some magnificent pace right now as we head towards turn 5. He's in with a shot of a podium here.
Yeah, White Fountain though, he's took full advantage of that. He's already got himself up into 4th position. Matt being a bit careful around Chopper's ghost car, and he's run wide, and this, surely it's only a matter of time before White Fountain gets himself back into 3rd place. He's going to have DRS, but as will Lukey and Brumadinho as well. This could all get very exciting. What is now a battle for 3rd place, of course.
Yeah, White Fountain moves to the left-hand side as we make our way towards turn 12. He's got the inside line, he's got the DRS advantage. And as we head towards turn 13, Matt doesn't go for the move. He can't quite get the move done. So White Fountain is now up to P3. 19.5 seconds separates himself and Samster. That is a huge ask, even on those tyres.
Yeah, just going to have a quick look at the penalty situation for the 2 drivers. I believe Samster has 9 seconds of penalties to undergo, and White Fountain has none, so that makes it a 10-second gap. Who knows what could happen? 13 laps on the Ultrasofts are going to be, I'd say, fairly worn out towards the end of the race, but we've just seen White Fountain do 20 laps with a lot more fuel on board, so it shouldn't be too much of a problem for Samster to get them to last to the end.
Oh, Brumadinho there, trying to make a move on Lukey, but misjudged the braking point there and had to go straight on at turn 2, and sort of stayed right of the, left of the sleeping policeman. That's what you're supposed to do if you run wide at turn 2. There you go, I'm a poet and I didn't even know it. But Lukey following Matt FNG very closely there, and Brumadinho has got to make those ultra softs last. They're not going to last for much longer. They are already past their peak for now, but Brumadinho seems to be making them last a bit longer and a bit more, well, they seem to have a little bit more grip on them as Matt FNG runs out quite wide on the exit of turn 9 there. And coming into the DRS zone now, Brumadinho might have a little bit of double toe as we make our way towards turn 11. Now towards turn 12. That left-hander, you can see there, Luki closing on Matt FNG. He moves to the left-hand side. He might have the line then as we head down towards turn 13. Matt FNG tries to defend the inside lane and he runs wide on the exit of turn 13. Brumadinho and Luki come together then, and they come together again as we head towards turn 15. As Brumadinho up the inside there and takes the position away from Luki there. Looked a little bit of a desperate move, I've got to say, from the Force India, but he has got the move done and moves up to 5th place. Matt FNG in 4th place now creates a little bit of a buffer, and well, 1.1 is the gap between himself and Brumadinho, and of course there's the detection point, that white line that Matt FNG's gone past, and I don't know, Brumadinho, no, he was just outside the DRS zone, so Matt can just breathe a sigh of relief for now. But even without the DRS, Brumadinho's caught him by 3/10 on that straight alone.
Brumadinho must have about 15 different shades of paint on his car now from all the various cars he seems to have been involved in during this race. But I think he was just hoping to take advantage of Luki and Matt's situation. And as you said, maybe getting a bit desperate to get past. I think he feels he's definitely got the pace for these to get past these two. He's managed to get past Luki, and I imagine he'd be getting past Matt before the end of the race.
Well, we'll have to wait and see then, as Brumadinho makes his way around turn 9, coming now towards turn 10. Lap 23 though, which is now going to be lap 24. We have 4 laps to go here at the Russian Grand Prix. Marley leads by 15 seconds to Samsa then. White Fountain is in 3rd. He's brought that gap down over 2 laps to 16 seconds now. That is Matt FNG in 4th place, but he's under a huge amount of pressure from Brumadinho in 5th. That's Luki in 6th in the distance there. Then it's Jaw in 7th place, Pete in 8th, TK 9th, and Chopper running around as a ghost car. He will not be classified, but he is running in 10th place at the moment. And it's interesting to see if he'll score some points even as a ghost car.
Yeah, I still think it was a bit rash. Maybe he just disconnected. We don't know what happened, but such a shame. I think he just got distracted by Brumadinho and Samster earlier. With Brumadinho now just comfortably ERS used to full effect, gets past Matt FNG, and that is 4th place for the Force India. And I can't imagine the Ferrari having the grip to fight back in the remaining 4 laps now. The White Fountain, when you're watching him on board compared to watching Matt FNG on board, it looks like he's in a different formula with the pace of those fresh hypersoft tyres compared to the worn out soft tyres. Just so much more confidence through the corners at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely, especially going through turn 8 and turn 9 here as he now makes his way up towards turn 10. Yeah, you're right, Luke. He's got so much more grip out there, more grip than anybody else at the moment. I believe Pete has the fastest lap of the race so far, and he does. It's a 1:32.8, and comparing that to Valtteri Bottas this time, 1:35.8. There are quite a few drivers. In fact, I think there's only 2 drivers there that are over Valtteri Bottas this time, and that is Luki there, only by a single tenth, and Matt FNG, whose best lap time, 1:36.2. Everybody else then has lapped this track faster than Valtteri Bottas did in real life.
Yeah, I wonder what Valtteri Bottas would do on this game. Maybe he is on this game and using a different name that we don't know about. Who knows? Well,
definitely a 120.
Yeah, the 120. Maybe he'd use a few different lines as well on track. We've seen Max Verstappen and Lando Norris take part on iRacing together, so who knows what the future could hold for esports and Formula 1 collaborating. But Brumadinho, I think, has broke Matt FNG now, and Luki has got right on the back of the Ferrari, just half a second separating them with 3 laps to go. He has got the slightly fresher tyres, so I think he's going to be pretty desperate to get past and get those extra 2 points. And it definitely does look like the battle for the championship will be going on to Japan. Samster 16 seconds behind Marley, who's had such a good race out in front. Now, we haven't really had to talk about him. He just seems to have been steadily on his own, doing a good job, not getting involved in anyone else's trouble, and just keeping a calm head on his shoulders. He's got 2 laps to go with 16-second lead. It's been a fantastic performance.
Yeah, absolutely. Leading the way. He's done 21 laps on those soft tyres. Of course, he started on those hyper soft tyres, came in very early, changed onto a set of soft tyres that went against the strategy we thought he was going to go with. And, well, proved us wrong, Luke. And maybe that's why we're up in the commentary box and not out on track.
Yeah, I definitely expect most drivers to go hyper, ultra, or ultra hyper, but incidents, maybe different setups, feeling like go for more of a qualifying orientated setup. Maybe just how the driver feels comfortable on certain tyres. I know some drivers prefer the harder tyres because they just feel a bit more confident in what it gives them, as Lukey has managed to get past Matt in the DRS zone for 5th position now.
Yeah, Matt here coming around turn 3 now. I doubt he's going to have some sort of move up the inside. No, he doesn't. Gets very close to the back of Lukey though. But coming towards turn 5 again. Will he have a look? No, he might not. The interesting thing about Brumadinho, we've got to watch out for him in these last couple of laps, is remember he's had 2 spins on those tyres. Now when the tyres heat up, obviously they start to wear a little bit. When they cool down, you do run the risk of graining. So we've got to watch out for those rear tyres to see if there's any sort of graining on those tyres. That could cost him in these last couple of laps.
Yeah, I think he's hopefully taking it pretty steady now. He knows he's not going to be able to catch up White Fountain. He's not pulled out as I was expecting him to over Lukey, or maybe some of that's just down to tyre wear. He has done 19 laps on those ultra softs, of course. They are getting pretty old and battered, I'd imagine, right now. White Fountain's got the gap down to about 11 seconds on Samster. I believe after penalties that'll be 2.5 seconds, so it takes a wonderful final lap for White Fountain, and we could see him get 2nd position here.
Well, on to the final lap of the race then. Marley had a little bit of a moment on the exit of turn 2 then. But if that's the only moment he's had in this race, the only bad moment of course, then I think he'll take that as he makes his way now towards turn 10. And normally when you're leading the race and you haven't had much coverage, that's normally a good sign, as Marley now makes his way towards turn 11, now coming now through towards turn 12 for the final time, and he's definitely set down a marker for One Hub over the next season. Where will he be in season 13? It'll be interesting to know then, as he makes his way now through turn 14, coming towards the 90-degree section, then up the crest towards turn 15, then through turn 16, and you can see then the soft tyres just maybe losing a little bit of life towards the end of this race. Then he now makes his way towards the final 2 corners, and for Marley here, he's taken that final corner very wide. Don't think, no, he's going to do a donut. Of course he is. Oh my goodness. Such a huge lead then. He makes his way around the final corner. He will win the Russian Grand Prix. And who said he didn't do it with style there? Samster coming around the final corner then. And he is going to take 2nd place for now. That's before penalties. We'll have to wait and see. And he finishes in 2nd place then. White Fountain has been putting in the lap of his life then. Around the final corner he comes. Will he be able to steal it? And he does by 0.6 of a second then. Brumadinho here in 4th place. You can see Lukey right behind them. And Matt F&G battling away for 5th place. Brumadinho is going to come home on track in 4th place. And Lukey comes across the line. And Matt F&G jumps Lukey in the final standings on penalties. So it's Matt F&G in 5th place then. Lukey in 6th. Jaw coming across the line. He finishes in 7th. And only 0.2 behind Lukey overall. So a clean race from Jaw then. But just not enough to get past Lukey. Literally 0.2 of a second. Pete then making his way around the final couple of corners. An eventful race for him then, as TK will also follow him across the line and actually jump him at the end. But the winner of the Russian Grand Prix, donut and all, is Marley.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic performance for the Renault driver. It's blisteringly quick in qualifying, followed that up in the race, and even had time to give us a few donuts at the end. Peter saying he felt like that race went terrible, but hey, at least you finished. I think quite a few of the other drivers would have loved to have been in your position at the end of the race. Credit to White Fountain as well. We thought he'd gone too long on the ultra soft tyres, but he nearly came so close to taking 2nd place off Sam at the end.
Absolutely, and we'll wait for the unofficial results then. Marley takes the race win with Samster in second place, White Fountain in third, Brumadinho in fourth, Matt FNG fifth, Lukey in sixth, Jaw seventh, TK eighth, GP1 Pete in ninth. Chopper then finished in 10th, but that wasn't him finishing, that was him in the AI car. And in that race, Donkel, Scorpion and Lawrence all retiring from the race. And well, it's a great win for Marley then, and a race that could have been for Brumadinho. He was definitely the most involved driver in the race, but I have to say one of the moments of the race going down into turn 4 was, simply put, Pete losing the back end and collecting both Donkel and Brumadinho.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to hear from Pete if there was anything in particular that caused him to spin, or whether he just got it slightly wrong going into turn 4 in the dirty air, perhaps behind Brumadinho. But what a fantastic race from Marley, and I think White Fountain as well deserves some credit for how he managed to get his strategy to work. Yeah, Peter's just saying he just got caught out slightly by Brumadinho. I think fantastic from White Fountain to get the strategy to work there, but it'll be interesting to see if the stewards have anything to say about a few of the incidents. What in the provisional standings of the 2 title contenders left, Samster and Donkel, both seem to be involved in a bit of contact with Brumadinho and perhaps even each other on the first lap. So be interested to see if the stewards have anything to say about that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I believe the stewards' standings are put up on Monday. I want to say Monday. But yeah, the stewards will be able to post all of their findings, if there are any, at a later date. Well, Luke, I have to say it's been a pleasure commentating with you this evening.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed the action here today. Peter saying he thinks it's Tuesday. I don't know whether Pete's familiar with having to visit the stewards. But,
that's a little harsh.
But maybe he's used to finding out when it is, or just trying to be careful perhaps. Samster, just quickly on the title battle, I believe if he finishes in 6th place, providing there are no penalties, 6th place should be enough in Japan for him to win the title.
Yeah, 118 point gap to Donkel with 125 points to score. I'm not saying anything. All I'm saying is, for now, go and check out the Prestige tier. They're out there right now, and go join them. And you can tune in to see the Pinnacle tier next week. We head to the Japanese Grand Prix. And Luke, it's been absolutely fantastic. Hope to see you more throughout, and maybe we've got some plans in the line. Maybe.
Yeah, well, I think we'll have to see what One Hub's got planned for season 13. I think that's all I'm going to say on that point.
well,
always leave them wanting more.
Absolutely. And well, it's been fantastic having you, Luke, and hopefully we get to see you more and more in One Hub as the weeks go on.
I'm sure if every single race is like this, I cannot wait.
Trust me, they talk about it on the late night show. The Pinnacle tier is the tier to watch for all the action. It is, honestly. So much action going on. And anyway, we're going to wrap up the stream here. Make sure you do go and see the Prestige tier. Make sure you do subscribe to the channel as well. Make sure you hit the notification bell so that you're notified every time One Hub Racing goes live. And make sure you follow One Hub on Twitter at One Hub Racing. You can also follow me if you really want to. It's at KSMCGF1. You can also follow Luke as well. Luke, your Twitter handle.
At Luke Etheridge 95. In no way have I just had to check that.
Yeah, it took me a while to memorise everything. Anyway, thank you all for joining us. Hopefully we'll see you next week. My name is Kieran McGinley.
My name is Luke Etheridge.
Take care of yourselves, and we will see you next time.